Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a question that might make you a little uncomfortable. It definitely made me a bit uncomfortable when I was prepping for this.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So think about the last big decision you made. Maybe it was taking a new job, moving to a new city, or I don't know, even just how you reacted to that annoying email this morning.
The one where you wanted to throw your laptop out the window.
Exactly that one. Now, here's the question. Did you actually make that decision? Or was it made for you by a set of rules, fears, and scripts that were installed in your head before you were old enough to even read?
Right. It's the ultimate free will question, isn't it?
It is. And today we're diving into a source called The Architecture of Inherited Reality. And I have to say, this isn't just a psychology paper. It feels a bit like a horror movie script where the protagonist realizes the call is coming from inside the house.
Yes.
The whole premise is that the you listening to this right now, your personality, your values, your identity, might actually be running on software written by someone else.
It's a startling way to frame it, but the source makes a really compelling case. We tend to think of ourselves as these, independent agents, captains of our own ships.
Right.
But this text argues that for the vast majority of our lives, we aren't the captain at all. We're the autopilot.
And the autopilot was programmed by people we might not even agree with anymore. That's the real kicker.
Right. It's all about understanding what it calls subconscious conditioning.
Mm.
But before we spiral into a full-blown existential crisis, which is a real risk today, the goal of this deep dive is actually practical.
Okay.
It's about how to tell the difference between inherited reality, the stuff you were just given, and actual, genuine self-knowledge.
So let's get into the mechanics of this. The source calls it the invisible download. I love that image, but it's also, it's pretty creepy.
It is.
It suggests that from the moment we're born, our minds are just like absorbing data. But it's not like we're sitting in a classroom taking notes.
No, and that's exactly why it works so well. The source breaks this down into a few categories. From birth, your mind collects instructions on everything. Beliefs about who you are, rules about success, money, relationships.
And the big ones?
And the really big ones, religion, nation, family.
Okay, let's pause on the how here. Because if you asked me, did your parents teach you how to view money? I'd say, I don't know, maybe. I don't remember getting a PowerPoint on fiscal responsibility and anxiety.
Exactly. You didn't get a syllabus. You watched your mother's face tighten when the bill came at a restaurant. Or you heard your dad make some, snide comment about the neighbor buying a new car.
Right.
You didn't learn the facts of money. You absorbed the emotional energy around it.
That's the stealth factor the text talks about. It says this information is absorbed slowly, quietly, and repeatedly.
Right. It's pure osmosis. By the time you were 7 or 8 years old, well, before you have the critical thinking skills to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe money isn't actually evil, that belief is already installed. It's a foundational rule in your operating system.
And the source uses that software analogy pretty heavily. It says by the time you're an adult, the mental software is already running in the background.
Think about what background really means in a computer sense. It means you don't see the interface. You don't have to click run. It's just there, using up your RAM, heating up the processor, dictating how the whole machine works.
So to make this really concrete, if I have a background app called I need to be perfect to be loved, I'm not waking up literally thinking that thought.
No.
I'm just waking up anxious, over-preparing for a meeting, and feeling like garbage if I make a typo in an email.
Precisely. You don't see the code, you just feel the consequence. You experience the stress or the burnout or that defensive anger, and you think, well, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
But the source is arguing, no, that's not who you are. That is just the software executing its program.
That is a massive distinction. But, okay, it leads to the obvious question.
Yeah.
If this software is making us miserable, if I'm stressed out and running on some perfectionist script, why don't I just uninstall it? Why is it so hard to change?
This is the real crux of the problem. The source calls this the fish in the water, but it really points to a fundamental flaw in how we try to fix ourselves.
The self-help trap.
Exactly. The source offers this key insight. You can only let go of something you consciously chose.
Wait, unpack that for me. That sounds kind of counterintuitive.
Well, think about it. If you consciously decide to buy a specific car, and then later you realize, it's a lemon, you can sell it. You know you bought it. You know how to get rid of it.
Okay.
But these beliefs about your worth, your religion, your role in society, you never bought them.
They were the factory settings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And since you didn't consciously pick them up, you don't know how to consciously put them down. You don't even know you're holding them.
Which brings us to the analogy that's, like, central to this whole piece, the fish in the ocean.
It's a classic metaphor, but the source uses it to explain this idea of cultural blindness. So a fish is born in the ocean. It lives in water, it breathes water, it eats in water. If you ask the fish, hey, how's the water today?
The fish would say, what the hell is water?
Exactly. Because it has no point of comparison. To the fish, the water isn't an environment, it's just reality.
Right.
And the source argues that our culture, our conditioning,
Yeah.
that's our water. We don't feel like we're following a system of rules. We just feel like we're living in the real world.
I feel this when I travel. You go to a different country and you see people doing things that seem totally bizarre or inefficient, and you think, wow, look at their cultural conditioning.
Mm.
But when I come home and work 60 hours a week, because that's what successful people do, I don't see that as a weird cultural quirk. I see that as just the way it is.
That is the perfect example. You are seeing their water, but you can't see your own. We assume our definitions of success or gender roles or even how we handle time are natural laws, like gravity. They're not. They're just inherited agreements.
So we are all just fish who don't know we're wet. And the scary part is the source is letting go of this is so hard because we confuse the water with ourselves.
That's the identity trap. If you take the fish out of the water, it dies.
Yeah.
If you try to strip away a person's core conditioned beliefs, their politics, their religion, their family narratives, they feel like they are dying
Oh.
because they've completely conflated who I am with what I've been told.
I want to push on this a bit because I can hear the skeptical listener right now. I mean, I hear myself being skeptical. I'm an adult. I've read books. I've traveled. I'd like to think I've chosen my values.
Of course.
If I say I value honesty and hard work, I feel like I decided that. Is the source saying I'm just delusional?
Not delusional, no, but it is hitting you with a pretty rigorous fact check. It calls this the illusion of choice.
Okay, so hit me with the fact check.
All right, look at the fundamentals. You didn't choose your birthplace.
Right.
You didn't choose your parents. You didn't choose your native language. You certainly didn't choose the religion or political system you were soaked in as a toddler.
True. Geography is destiny, right? If I was born in 13th century Mongolia, my values would look very, very different.
Completely different. The text argues that what we often call our values are usually just us defending the inputs we received by accident of birth. We internalize them so deeply that we fight for them as if they were our own personal discoveries.
That's humbling. It's like being proud of your eye color. You didn't pick it, it just happened to you.
And this leads to a key distinction the source makes between two ways of living. On one side, you have religion or tradition, and on the other, you have spirituality or self-knowledge.
And usually people use those words interchangeably, but here they mean, what, opposites?
In this context, yes. Religion and tradition are defined as living someone else's experience. It's repeating the ritual, reciting the creed, doing what your grandfather did because he did it. It's a photocopy of a photocopy.
And self-knowledge.
That is defined as living from your own direct awareness. It's not accepting a truth because a book says so. It's checking your own experience. Is this true for me? Does this actually lead to peace for me?
So one is inherited and one is discovered.
Exactly. And the great irony is, we usually defend the inherited stuff much more aggressively than the discovered stuff.
Okay, so let's say I'm sold. I realize I'm a fish. I realize I'm running, I don't know, Windows 95 on a 2026 brain, and it's crashing all the time.
Good analogy.
The natural reaction, at least for me, is, screw this, I'm rebelling. I'm going to quit my job, denounce my upbringing, and go move to a yurt.
And the source anticipates that. It explicitly warns the answer is not rebellion.
Why not? Rebellion feels like freedom. It feels like sticking it to the man.
It feels like it, but it's actually another trap. Think about it mechanically. If you are rebelling against something, you are still defined by that thing.
Give me an example.
Okay. Let's say your parents forced you to have a white room your whole childhood, and you hated it.
Mm-hmm.
The minute you move out, you paint your new room black just to spite them. Who actually decided the color of your room?
My parents did. I just picked the opposite of them.
Exactly. You're still in the reaction cycle. You haven't made a free choice. You've just swung the pendulum all the way to the other side. You're still trapped in the same room, just staring at a different wall.
That is annoying. It's annoying because it's true. So if we can't comply and we can't rebel, what is left?
Inquiry. The source suggests we replace reaction with observation. We need to audit the software.
The diagnostic audit. I really like this part of the source because it finally gives us something to actually do. It lists these specific questions, and I don't want to just rattle them off. I think we should linger on them because they're deceptively simple.
Let's do it.
Okay, the first one. Am I genuinely happy?
And that word genuinely is doing all the work, not am I distracted enough to not notice my unhappiness, not am I successful on paper, but is there a genuine sense of well-being?
That's a brutal question. Most of us just settle for, I'm fine.
And fine is usually the software talking.
Okay, here's the next one. Does my life feel chosen or automatic?
This is the one that gets me, automatic. How much of your day is just a script executing? You commute, you say the standard things to your coworkers, you come home, you watch the show, everyone is watching, you go to sleep.
It's the autopilot setting. It's safe, but is it living?
The source implies it's not, it's just existence.
Where? And the last one I want to highlight. Are my relationships meaningful or just habitual? Yeah. Do I hang out with these people because they feed my soul or just because we've been friends since high school and it's too much effort to change?
These questions are designed to crack the ice. They're meant to make you see the water. And the source warns us, this is not going to feel good at first.
Right. It says clarity won't come immediately. It's going to feel like confusion.
Confusion is actually a good sign. Confusion means the old software is glitching. It means you're waking up.
So we're asking the questions, we're feeling the confusion, what's the practice? Because the source gives a very specific instruction. Stop thinking, start observing.
This is the hardest instruction for smart people.
I was going to say stop thinking sounds like terrible advice. Thinking is how I solve problems. It's how I pay my mortgage.
But in this specific context of trying to understand your own conditioning, thinking is the enemy.
Why?
Because thinking is usually just the old software rearranging itself. When you think about why you're angry, you're usually just accessing old narratives, old justifications, old blame. You're using the corrupted system to try and fix the corrupted system.
It's like trying to clean a window with a dirty rag. You're scrubbing hard, but you're just smearing the dirt around in different patterns.
That is the perfect image. Thinking smears the dirt. Observation is just looking at the glass.
Okay, so walk me through a real-world scenario. Let's say I'm in traffic. Someone cuts me off. The old software says, scream at them, assume they're an idiot, ruin my morning.
Right. That's the automatic reaction. It happens in a nanosecond. Thinking about it would be, why do people always do this to me? I bet he's a total jerk. That's just adding more noise.
So what does observing look like in that moment?
Observing is the pause. You feel the rage spike. Your chest gets tight. But instead of yelling, and instead of analyzing why you're yelling, you just watch it happen. You say to yourself, oh, look, my heart is racing. I have a strong urge to scream.
So you treat your own reaction like it's happening to someone else? You become a scientist observing a lab rat, but the rat is you.
Exactly. You step back. And the text says something really profound here. Each pause forces a new decision.
That's the pivot point.
When you are fully inside the rage, you have no choice. You're a robot. But the second you observe the rage, you have created a tiny gap between the stimulus and the response. And in that gap, you can choose.
You might still choose to honk the horn.
You might. But it'll be a conscious choice, not just a spasm. And the source argues that this creates a chain reaction. Awareness leads to freedom. Freedom leads to better choices. And better choices, over time, reshape your entire life.
And I really appreciate that the text emphasizes this is a slow process. It's not a life hack. It's not do this one weird trick to erase your childhood trauma.
No, it's a practice. And it makes this key distinction between discipline and clarity. We usually try to change our lives via discipline. Right. I will not get angry. I will not get angry.
Which works for about 3 days until you explode.
Because discipline is fighting yourself. It's exhausting. The source says true. Lasting change comes from clarity. When you clearly see that touching a hot stove burns you, do you need discipline to stop touching it?
No, you just stop. Because you're not an idiot.
Right. When you truly see through this practice of observation, that your need to be right is ruining your marriage, or that your obsession with money is making you physically sick, you don't need willpower to stop. You just stop because you finally see the cost.
You see the water.
You see the water. And you realize you don't have to drown in it.
That is the whole journey then, from being the fish totally unaware to becoming the observer of the water.
And ultimately, it's about authorship. It's about taking the pen back. You can't erase the first few chapters of your life. Those were written for you. But you can absolutely write the rest of the book.
I love that. So we've covered the download, the fish, the trap of rebellion, and the power of the pause. We're approaching the end here. And we always like to leave the listener with something to chew on, a little bit of homework for the soul.
We've talked a lot about this observer, that part of you that can watch the anger without being the anger.
The one that watches the thoughts go by.
Right. So here's the final provocation, based on the logic of the source.
Mm-hmm.
If your name, your job, your political beliefs, your personality quirks, and even your thoughts are all just inherited software, then who are you?
Yeah. If I can observe my thoughts, then I am not my thoughts. So, what's left?
When you strip away everything you were told to be,
Hmm.
who is the you that is doing the observing?
That is the question. And I have a feeling the answer isn't something you can think your way to. You just have to watch and see what shows up.
Precisely.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Good luck finding the water.
See you next time.